Like all true love, one day it withered on the vine. All right. Man, I'm running a little bit behind. They got me working nights, so now instead of doing these in the morning, I'm doing them in the evening, which is almost the same time as the morning. So if you get up at 2 in the morning to go to work, or you're up until 2 in the morning to get off of work, is there really a difference? I don't know. If you guys have been following my videos, you know that in the last few weeks I've kind of gone on about some drama against work, and I came up with a resolution today, and I'm going to kind of let it rest at that. I was talking with a friend of mine, and I had composed a letter, an email, to my boss and to include his boss in it, and it went something along the lines of, in the last couple of weeks, there was a couple of issues that my boss had confronted me about where I was deficient. Both of these incidents were easily rectifiable. All I had to do was, for one of them, I had to just go pick something up from the office, and the other one was as simple as printing some stuff out. Now, while I should have definitely been on top of it and noticed these things and made sure they never happened, and that's something that I'm going to strive to do, the level that they got to, the big deal that was made out of them, I thought was really, really uncalled for. And my ability to lead as a safety manager was called into question. My integrity and my leadership skills were both called into question directly, whether or not I have what it takes to run big jobs for the company that I work for. So I'd like to go to the records. I've been with this company a little over a year and 3 months, and in that time, we've had 0 major incidents. We've only had 1 injury which required modification of duty. I have nearly 100% buy-in from the crews. They do their own paperwork, inspections. I don't have to remind them. They now 100% across the board hold toolbox talks and morning meetings without me having to say anything. They are almost 100% compliant across the board, so we have nearly 100% buy-in from all the crews. They're all happy with our leadership, and we're definitely happy with their performance. We've had 2 inspections from the state, and we passed both of them with 100% in the field. They found 1 minor incident, well, it was 2 technically. There were 2 with the office. There was a portable office there. They had a refrigerator that was not commercial, so they said we had to remove it from the construction site. That's what we had to abate, and it was as easy as just removing it, and that abated it. So we've had outstanding remarks from the state. They said that they loved our safety program, and they'd like to see more companies doing what we're doing. I had a guy that's running a job, a superintendent, got thrown off a job and said he would never work for the company, one of the general contractors we work for. I might have hoarded myself out a little and kind of begged and pleaded and got the, I did a little, selling of my soul to get him back on that job site, but I made the promise that if you let him, give him one more chance, he'll never have a problem again. And I did that as a favor to people he'd worked with that said that this is our guy and we want him back. So I went out of my way, I got him back on the job site, and not only now is he shown outstanding leadership, but he's actually got a safety award. So if that's not good enough, if my performance is not good enough, I have outstanding relationships with all the general contractors, all the subcontractors. I've been in this town long enough, so I know most of them anyways. We have outstanding relationships with everybody that we're working with. There's nobody that has a problem with us from at least my side of the fence. I know we got some issues on the money side, but that has nothing to do with my department. And that ain't good enough. If that calls into question my ability to run jobs in Las Vegas, I don't know what you're looking for. Honestly, I don't know if you could do much better than me. And if you can, I'd love to meet him because I'd love to work with him. Maybe I can learn something. You know what I mean? But I take this eloquent email up, and I didn't send it. I was talking to a couple of coworkers, and I said, what do you think I should do? And they said, well, these things tend to die down on their own, so just leave it alone. If it comes up and becomes a problem, then send it. So I'm going to sit on it. I'm just going to keep it in the drafts folder. And if things get quiet and they iron themselves out, I'll just leave it alone. He's like, do you really want to draw unnecessary attention to yourself for no reason other than your minor disagreements with one person? I said, well, that one person can make my life a living hell. He's like, yeah, but you're a big boy. You can live with it. Okay, that's good advice. That's good advice. Don't draw more attention to yourself than you have to. Just keep your head down and keep doing what you're doing. And that's what I'm going to do. So we'll leave it at that. Things are looking up. Man, before work, my AC unit went out here in Vegas, and what had happened was the main vent line that goes up to the air handler, which is on top of my roof, fell into the roof. I went up there and yanked the service panel off, and I looked at it, and I'm like, there's supposed to be a vent there. So I had to crawl into my roof, and it's one of those old school roofs with the trusses, and it's got the insulation and the little nails sticking out from the roof tiles. And it was so hot up there. It almost, I swear, getting that vent line hooked back up again darn near killed me. So I had some fun today, man. It is getting hot out there, and there's one thing you do not want is to lose your air conditioning in Las Vegas. My Lord, no. I mean, it's literally, it can be life or death for some people. Like, that could literally kill you. I have some awesome comments to go through, some that are contentious and some that are very supportive. So let's get into it. I'm getting near overwhelming support from the videos where I'm illustrating, doing artwork, and I'm planning on doing as many of those as I can, but those are the hardest videos for me to make because you got to set a specific block of time up to, you know, do artwork. And while I suppose I really need to buy a camera, maybe hopefully someday I could get to the point where I make money off of YouTube, but until then I have to buy my own stuff. So I've been using my phone camera, and the problem is like I'd leave it set up so I could go away and maybe come back and do it again later, you know, like pick up where I left off, but I take my phone with me, so I do try to do it in one sitting. I don't know, I'll figure out a better system because I don't like the angle at which the camera's at either. It kind of makes the drawing look wonky when I'm doing the time lapse. First comment of the day, Rice White 9168. We're talking about the Angry Marine Rant. The battle continues over female custodies. I think a lot of people, this comment's 2 days old, so I'm sorry it took me this long to get to you. I think a lot of people automatically assume all inclusivity is to meet quotas or to force a modern societal view into fiction. You can look at it that way, but you just end up locking horns with the opposite end of people fighting for diversity. For a lot of communities growing up, there were very, very, very few groups in which they could relate because 9 times out of 10 they were just straight white dudes with the occasion black or gay dude having these new forms of inclusivity in the media. There's never going to be that kid, sad because they don't fit into that world. 40K is already a pretty heavy sausage fest. So by adding in new ideas shouldn't be seen as forcing it in, more just expanding the universe in a way it kind of should have from the beginning. I've heard this before. Comments saying that 40K is sausage fest. 40K is like half women. Seriously. Like, yeah, there are a lot of... No, it really is. Tau, you have female and male. Imperium, female and male. You have the Space Marines, you have the Sisters of Battle. You could say there's more Marine factions, but I mean, like really, like models-wise, for the Custodies, you have the Sisters of Battle. Like, I mean, I can go down the list, and there's male and there's female. I don't see it as a sausage fest at all. As a matter of fact, I run an all-female army, 2 of them. I got my Eldari, and I have my Sisters of Battle, like, and I prefer them. But if you want to like break it down into that, like one thing I always tend to forget is the younger generations didn't grow up with the context of how it was back in like the 90s and, you know, early 2000s, where like things, all this diversity, inclusivity, and all this crap wasn't forced into everything. We didn't grow up like. I never heard anyone say, I don't feel represented by this. Now, I could see, like, people of color feeling that way, because I often did have the thought, like, man, it is all white people on TV. I wonder how, you know, other people that aren't white feel about that. And I think it's cool that there is more inclusivity, but what I don't care for is how it's forced. If you look at the numbers, white people have historically, up until I want to say the year 2016, we were over 70% of the country. So that's 2/3. If you want to do equal representation, If you're 70% of the company, like, what's the percentage of other than white? But they don't do that. If anything, they want to push white people out completely. So you're always going to run into a problem if you want to make it about race, which you clearly do. We are still the biggest group. So what are you going to do at the end of the day when you've alienated the largest group that spends the most money? And that's the reason why these things are all failing, because you guys think that there's a higher representation in real life than there is online. If a lot of people, they had this poll where they asked, how many people do you think in this country identify as LGBT? And the numbers they came up with were stupid. It was like 35%. 35% of the population identifies as gay. Okay, the species wouldn't continue, first of all. Try 4%. 4. And you wonder why 96% of us are sick of hearing about it. Because it's forced upon us. 4% of the country is forcing its viewpoints on 96% of the rest of us. And we're all too scared to say anything about it. And on top of that, it's like a lot of that is not even real representation. It's just people jumping on the bandwagon. A lot of these liberals picking pronouns so they could be part of the team. Like, what was one, demisexual? Like, it's a way of saying you're straight, but not, because straight's evil. I don't want to be cis, so I'm going to pick demisexual. It's so stupid. It is so stupid. It's so stupid. And then the argument's like we don't care. We never did. You know what I mean? Like, it's all about good storytelling. Yeah, this narcissistic need to see yourself represented directly in the media you're watching. If we told good stories and made really, really good movies, none of that would come up. I promise you. Like look at like Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings, versus what's on Amazon. I never heard anybody complain that there wasn't enough black high elves. They were just lost in the, the universe that he had created, which, obviously is going to be, the guy's British. Back in the day, Britain wasn't the most diverse place in the world, and you also have to kind of take that into consideration. Like, there's a lot of other countries that are now being subjugated to what America's going through, and they don't identify with this nonsense either. The pendulum's already swinging. It really, really is. If you look at what's starting to happen, them going bankrupt across the board, it's seen. Disney was saying that people are just not interested in movies anymore. No, they are. Trust me. Top Gun, which wasn't even that great of a movie, I thought it was trite and contrived and kind of a throwback, but the fact that it wasn't woke and it busted $1 billion, like a not great movie. Just the fact that we had entertainment that wasn't cramming stuff down your throat, and the people flocked to the theaters for it. Barbie and Oppenheimer. Barbie, I don't know, that was an interesting one because there was a lot of the misogyny stuff. Like, it was funny that they made the board of directors all these evil white men that were just twirling their mustaches, trying to figure out a way to, like, when if you actually look at the Mattel board, it's mostly women, and the creator of Barbie is a woman herself. It's just hilarious, and they still made it in the movie, a bunch of evil white dudes, and that just cracks me up. But all these younger generations are growing up with that indoctrination. They see that, and they're like, yeah, that must be how the board of Mattel is. They don't really dig in past surface. Like, if you guys read something online, you just go with it. I've seen the Reddit posts, believe me. You don't actually look at the numbers. You don't look at the demographics. You don't look at the data. You just basically regurgitate Reddit talking points and call us bigots. Because we do. We do. The thing is we remember. We remember because we lived through it. I remember in the 90s, we were all friggin' cool with each other. As saying there wasn't racism in the 90s? No, I'm sure there absolutely was. And I'm sure there was places in this country where you wouldn't want to be. Hell, I remember when I went to West Virginia, I'm a white dude. And just the fact that I wasn't from that area, they didn't want me there. That was enough. They're like, don't go in those parts. You're not one of them. So there is places in the country where it is very much alive and well. But it was my experience growing up in the suburbs of Chicago that for the most part, we weren't talking about all this stuff. There wasn't this division. There wasn't this forced inclusivity. I remember the LGB issues of the day was their fight to be recognized legally for marriage and equal rights under the state, and that when they won those rights, that was a really big deal. That's what I grew up with, and I remember pretty much everybody was on board with it. It wasn't until Obama became president that we started seeing this division, because that's when they started talking about the race thing. And I voted for him his first term because he kept saying things like hope and change. And I was like, yeah, we'd like some hope and change, please. I didn't realize he was hoping white people would go away and he'd like to change it so we don't have a say anymore. That's not the hope and change we was hoping for, but at the end of the day, you could try to brush us under the rug, but we are still way more than half of the country. And what you do when you get online and you get in these little ideological bubbles where only your friends have the same opinions, and anybody like me that comes in there and suggests something different, and you block me and try to have my life ruined and get me fired from my job and make sure that I'm ostracized from society because I might suggest, like, are you sure men that cut their dicks off are really women? You know, ruin him. I'm just asking. We're still there. We're still 60% of the population, but now it's like the very thing that you're trying to fight against, you're actually kind of creating, because the more you try to ostracize that percentage of the population, the more radicalized they get to push back against you. So you're creating the thing you're fighting against. Back in the day, we used to just talk to each other and have minor disagreements and move on. Again, I'm sure that there are other people who experience real racism and real bigotry. And I would have met me growing up as a kid. I don't know what it would be like to actually be in the closet. You know, I had some gay friends. I still do. I had some gay friends back then, and they talked about their struggles, and that was really cool. Like in the 2000s, being in San Diego and just being able to openly hang out with people and no one gave a shit. Well, those same people, two of them will no longer talk to me. And the reason why is because I leaned conservative and I wouldn't vote Democrat. The fact that I would not politically align with them, they just decided that they can no longer talk to me. And that's a shame, because those were two of my closest friends, and I still love them to this day. We just have disagreements politically, and yet they cut me out of their lives. Yeah, it was gun control. We were arguing over gun control. Like, I'm a Marine, first of all. Second Amendment's cold dead hands. Yeah, the right to self-defense is, it's not granted by the government. All the Constitution does is say the government can't infringe upon those rights. Nobody gives you permission to defend yourself. And the Second Amendment is really not about defense anyways. We could get into that. But the bottom line is, I support an armed society. An armed society is a polite society. Or as my dad would say, if you arm one idiot, you got to arm everybody to keep it even. Well, they won't talk to me because I disagreed with anti-gun legislation. And I told them why and explained my point. The difference is, if you disagree with me, my sister comes to mind. She's like practically a communist. We might have contentious arguments, and I might say you're crazy and you're nuts, and I don't like your politics, but you're my sister. I love you. You're my friend. I love you. We can still break bread. We can still hang out. They don't. You guys just block us, and every time you block those voices out, your bubble gets more echoey. Everyone's got the same opinion. And then what happens, you don't hear outside opinions, and you think that conservatives are all extremists. No, we're over half the country. That's not extremism when half or more of your population leans, right of center. Think about it. Oh, these extremists, they're the number one threat to freedom. Over half the country is a threat to freedom. The ones fighting for freedom of speech and your sacred right of self-defense, we're the problem. Okay. Oh man, and then you got these Puritan laws where everybody's trying to censor everything and make all the women ugly, and it's just like, Lord have mercy. Like it was the conservatives in the 80s and 90s, Tipper Gore, that was doing the censorship, and you couldn't have any, like nudity, that kind of thing. Well, now it's swung, the pendulum swung the other way, and now just having like mildly attractive women is seen as like an unforgivable form of bigotry, which requires social ostracization, because you like a woman that weighs less than 300 pounds, you're a bigot. Oh man, the whole world has gone cuckoo. And your comment just proves it. But here's what I'm going to tell you. I still love you. We can still hang. It's all good, brother. Holy crap, I'm at one comment in and I'm already at 20 minutes. Maybe I'm a little passionate about that. I don't know. Can you tell? Well, I got time for one more simple comment. Why can't you guys just call me names like you used to? Like, you suck, I hope you off yourself. Like, you know, like, thanks. I miss those days where things were simple. Now you guys actually say stuff that makes me think. Yeah. Ego Lift Daily. We're talking about Marine illustrates orcs while responding to comments. And he responds, "Yep, that's a proper female sentient fungus. That orc drawing is hilarious. LOL. You got me extra laughing at the pigtails. I'm glad you got the joke. I don't really watch movies nowadays, but I can sympathize with fans. Sucks at what's happening." Yeah, because you don't have to watch movies. It's seen across the board with everything. I was listening to some audio comic books. So, you know, they put them on YouTube and you can just watch them. The guy reads them and then discusses them. And there is some really cool stuff, some Dr. Doom stuff. And there are still good comics. But a lot of them across the board are really good. They woke them up. You know what I mean? And again, like, we're the ones that pay money for this stuff, so it's like, no wonder they're going broke. True, the grass isn't always green on the other side. Got to take a step back and chill a bit. Now, I know you're talking about me, like in the job offers I've been getting. You're right, you're 100% right. The grass is not always greener, and I'm not one that's like, I'm not saying just because I got a bad day at work, I'm gonna quit. Fuck that guy. No, I do like my job a lot, and I work very hard to get to the point where I'm at, and I'm not gonna let one guy piss in my chili, goddammit. But that being said, if I do get to a point where I have no recourse, and he continues to undermine, and if he's gonna keep doing this every time he comes into town, I do have options. You know, honestly, just like, he's already gone, and it's already calmed down, and nobody's talking about it, and I'm like, okay, until next week. I don't have to work tonight. I just got off work. So, do I work out? Do I train? Man, it's dark. It's still 90 degrees in the garage. We'll fire the swamp cooler up because it's hot as F in here. But let me know. Leave me some comments, guys. I'm sorry I did not get to more comments. I will do better next time. Until then, I love you guys. I'll see you on the battlefield.